Ever wake up from like a night of sharing a bed and you're like, wow, I actually feel good.
Hmm.
It's funny, right? We joke about, the blanket stealing, the snoring.
Yeah.
But what if there's some actual science behind all this?
Right.
So you're listening because you're curious about this whole co-sleeping thing, right?
Yeah.
How it affects, like, how well couples sleep, especially.
Yeah.
And let's be real, we all love those little fun facts, those intriguing details.
Totally.
Well, get this. Some researchers over in Germany use some pretty high-tech stuff to figure out what happens in our brains when we share a bed. We're not just talking about, like, asking people how they slept. They use polysomnography.
Okay.
Yeah, it's serious sleep science. And the results, let's just say they challenge some of those ideas we have about co-sleeping.
Interesting. Okay.
To break it all down, we've got our expert on the line.
Hi.
Now, a lot of people think co-sleeping, that's going to mess with your sleep.
Mhm.
Was that true in this study?
It's a common thought for sure, but this study, which is they published it in Frontiers in Psychiatry, they found that there wasn't a big difference in like the overall sleep quality
Mm-hmm.
between people who shared a bed and those who didn't. Things like, how long they slept, how quickly they dozed off, even how efficient their sleep was overall.
So no need to kick my partner out of bed for better sleep then?
Well, not necessarily. Everyone's different, right?
True.
This
Yeah.
study gives us a peek into what happens on average, but, your own experience might be different.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay.
There was this one finding that really stood out to me. It said co-sleeping is linked to, get this, more REM sleep. And we all know REM sleep is where the magic happens, right? Dreams, processing emotions.
Right.
But here's what's wild. Another study found a similar boost in REM sleep with rock hyraxes.
Rock hyrax.
Yeah, they're these like furry mammals, kind of cute. And they get more REM sleep when they, you guessed it, sleep all huddled together.
Oh, wow.
So maybe there's something to this whole co-sleeping thing. Like, it's not just a human thing?
It is really interesting. I mean, comparing us to rock hyraxes, it might sound a little strange, but when you see that kind of similarity across different species, it makes you wonder if there's some evolutionary advantage to co-sleeping, like a connection between social bonding and this really important stage of sleep.
That's amazing. Okay, so to recap, cuddling up might not ruin my sleep. In fact, it could boost my REM sleep, maybe help me remember things better, process emotions.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it.
Okay, this is already blowing my mind, but it gets even better. They didn't just look at how much sleep people got,
Hmm.
but also how stable those sleep stages were, like how smooth or interrupted their sleep cycles were throughout the night.
Right.
And apparently co-sleeping is linked to more stable REM sleep, fewer interruptions.
Exactly. Think about watching a movie. It's way better without those annoying pauses, right? That's kind of like what fragmented REM sleep is like. Co-sleeping seems to be like that no interruptions button for your REM cycle.
Now that is a feature I could get used to. But hold on, there's more. They didn't just stop at measuring brainwaves. They also looked at relationships, like how much social support people felt, how good their relationship was, that kind of stuff. And this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, so more stable REM sleep when we share a bed. Interesting. But you mentioned relationships. What's the connection there?
So get this. They found that people who felt like less socially supported day to day,
Yeah.
those people actually had the biggest boost in REM sleep when they shared a bed.
Wow, so maybe co-sleeping is even more beneficial if you're feeling a bit, I don't know, emotionally vulnerable.
It's possible. You think about it, the physical closeness, that feeling of safety, it could definitely help with stress, especially if you're not getting that same support from other parts of your life.
It totally changes how you think about co-sleeping and better sleep, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but there was one more thing. This whole sleep synchronization idea. How do our brains actually sync up when we share a bed?
Great. So they didn't just look at individual sleep, they actually measured how in sync couples' sleep patterns were when they shared a bed.
Wait, so our brains are like doing a synchronized swimming routine while we sleep. How do they even measure that?
It's amazing, right? So they used like special techniques to track and compare both partners' sleep stages throughout the night, and they looked for patterns.
Yeah.
Turns out the couples who shared a bed, their sleep architecture was way more synchronized. It's like their sleep was subtly influencing each other all night.
No way. That's wild. And then they actually woke up closer together in time too, right?
Yeah.
Like our brains become perfectly synced alarm clocks when we co-sleep.
Not exactly a perfect alarm clock. It wasn't instant, more like within a few minutes. So there was this subtle give and take happening throughout the night.
Still, there's definitely some kind of communication going on there, even if we don't realize it. But hold on, because you said they looked at relationship quality too, right?
Absolutely.
What did they find?
The couples who were more deeply connected, who reported a stronger bond, they actually had the highest levels of sleep synchronization.
So let me guess.
Hmm.
Couples who finish each other's sentences also finish each other's sleep cycles.
Pretty much. It seems like that strong bond, that emotional connection, might actually translate to this almost intuitive physical synchronization, even during sleep.
Whoa, okay, so now the big question. What comes first? The strong bond or the synchronized sleep? Does one lead to the other?
That is the million-dollar question, and honestly, researchers are still trying to figure that one out.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Something as simple as sharing a bed could affect our sleep and our relationships so much. Okay, so we've covered a lot, haven't we? REM sleep, synchronized sleep cycles. But before we go, let's talk about you, the listener. Why does all this research matter?
Right, good point. I mean, on the surface, it's like, oh, couples in their sleep, how cute.
Right.
But it goes way beyond that.
So we're not just deciding who gets the bigger blanket.
Exactly. Understanding how sleep and our relationships work together, that could change how we think about, like, stress or emotional well-being.
Okay, I see that. I'm seeing the bigger picture now.
Yeah, it suggests that sharing a bed with someone you care about could have a much deeper impact than we realized. And that's exciting.
It really is. For those tuning in, let's recap what we've learned about the science of co-sleeping. What surprised you most about this study?
Well, first, we busted that myth that co-sleeping equals worse sleep, remember? No big differences in those key sleep quality measures.
Yeah, I like knowing I can share my bed without sacrificing a good night's sleep.
Right. And then there's the whole REM sleep thing. Co-sleeping seemed to increase it, but also make it more stable, less all over the place.
Which is, like we said, super important for, what was it? Processing emotions, remembering things, all that. Oh, and the rock hierarchies.
Oh, yeah.
Getting more REM sleep when they're all cuddled up makes you think there's got to be a connection between co-sleeping and social bonding, like way back in our evolution.
Definitely. That evolutionary link is super interesting. And then, of course, we can't forget the relationship side of things. People who didn't feel as socially supported, they got the biggest REM sleep boost from co-sleeping.
Like, co-sleeping could be this, like, unique stress reliever, especially for those who need it most.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then there's the whole sleep synchronization thing, which is still blowing my mind.
Right. Our brains syncing up, even waking up closer together when we co-sleep. Crazy. But the big question still remains, does the strong bond lead to synchronized sleep, or is it the other way around? I guess we're left with a pretty cool mystery to think about.
A mystery that hopefully leads to even more research. It's such an important part of our lives, you know?
Totally. And hey, maybe it'll spark some fun conversations at your next dinner party.
That's right.
As always, keep those questions coming, keep those sleep studies going, and most importantly, happy sleeping.